Sunday, November 19th. Let's talk about Nelson Mandela and Robert Mugabe, a study in contrast. It's interesting when you see what's happened down in that area of Africa, because let's look at Robert Mugabe first. As you've all seen, Robert Mugabe is being thrown out by the military, and people have had enough of him, and now they're going to have a new leader. But Robert Mugabe was a real hero of Zimbabwe. Before Zimbabwe, there was Rhodesia. Rhodesia was a country run by the white people, very much like South Africa. That's why we're going to talk Nelson Mandela and compare and contrast. Robert Mugabe led the revolution to push out those who were in charge, and those in charge of Rhodesia backed off and let Robert Mugabe take over the government. Beautiful. The man was a hero to his people. And at the beginning, Robert Mugabe believed in letting people work together, whites and blacks, as they move forward. The whites kept their farms, and the blacks were supposed to be able to get nice, major economic support to be able to grow, learn, have great education, and be able to become successful and be able to take this country and turn Zimbabwe into one of the featured countries in Africa. The problem is that Robert Mugabe became a dictator. He became a person who loved power, who loved money, who loved living good. And because of that, as the years went on, democracy disappeared. Robert Mugabe allowed the blacks to move in and take over the whites' farms without any type of programs where if he worked something out with those who stayed there, the whites who stayed there, to give up maybe part of their farms, to give education, to do things, to teach how to farm, to teach how to run a business. But Robert Mugabe didn't do that. He just let people go in and take it over. And what ended up happening was the economy, as the years went on, just collapsed. Inflation exploded. Every opposition party member or non-party member who came against him was pushed out. The votes were rigged. The army took total control of everything, and Robert Mugabe just put all the money in his pocket. Married a young woman. He set her up to be his successor, and the people hated him. And he went from being a hero to being a villain. And because of that, today we see Robert Mugabe, thrown out of power, which should have happened long ago, and he's going to be nothing. He's going to be impeached. And instead of handing over power and working it out years ago, where he could have been set up to be a hero to his country, he ends up being the villain, and he's going to be in big trouble when this is over. He's not getting away with anything. He stole too much money. He was too corrupt. Now let's look at Nelson Mandela over in South Africa, right next door to Rhodesia. When President de Klerk decided he was going to let Nelson Mandela out of jail, and that was because the world decided they weren't going to put up with it and boycotted South Africa, Nelson Mandela, a great man, came out and decided the way to run things was to have truth commissions where people would come in, tell the truth, tell the world what happened, tell the country what happened, and then be able to move on from there, to be honest and move on. He had Archbishop Desmond Tutu working with him and others, but Nelson Mandela stood there and said, no violence. We're going to be a country. We're going to be one. We're going to set up so that everybody can live together and work together and make this a great country. What a great man. And because of him, he had his issues. Winnie Mandela, his wife, was a little out there. But Nelson Mandela believed in peace. He was a Gandhi. It was incredible what this man did. He was in jail for, 30, 40 years? And he came out and was still a man of peace. And because of that, the country handed over power. People were able to live together. Yeah, there are issues. They have major urban issues like we do here in America. They have other issues. The party that runs the country has their internal issues. There's questions of corruption and payoffs. But because of Nelson Mandela, the country stayed together as one, and people lived there, whites and blacks together, so that it became a real country. And people look at South Africa and go, wow, what a great country. It's happening because of Nelson Mandela, a great leader, a great man. And when we contrast him, who led his country to even better things, to Robert Mugabe, who was a hero and then decided to line his pockets and live big and be the man and screw everybody else in his country, white and black, we see the difference. South Africa is a real country. It's a country that's happening. It's a country that's moving forward. It appears from the outside, from a person like me, I don't live there, I've never been there, that it looks like it's really successful. Rhodesia, which turned into, Rhodesia, which turned into Zimbabwe, has not been successful. It's been a total, complete, and absolute failure because of its leader. And the people in the military have had to take over. The military has to take over, there's a problem. So when we look at heroes, when we look at real people who have led their people, and really the people of the world by their example, to peace and prosperity, look at Nelson Mandela and see what happened, and then look at their neighbor, Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe, and see what happened there when a hero turns into a dictator, and realize that people want true leadership. People want leaders who care, who worry about the people, who want the people to be successful. And South Africa was so lucky, we in the world were so lucky to have a leader like Nelson Mandela. And we in the world are also lucky to see a dictator like Robert Mugabe, to realize what a difference it makes between the two and how the countries grew. One imploded. It's absolutely incredible. Look at that. What a history lesson. It's a history lesson for the world. Peace. And please follow us, subscribe to us, share us, comment. I'm loving the comments. I'm getting a lot of people getting personal. I'll erase those, but those who come in, I don't care if you disagree. Lay it out there. We don't care. We're going to be talking more foreign policy as the week goes on. This was just a great lesson in truth, honesty, peace, as against corruption. What a difference.